my friends, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Zita, and on my channel I do DIYs and makeovers on a budget. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at OakWell Home. So let's get started on today's DIYs and see what I've created. Today I'm going to be making over a set of 3 nesting tables. So let's get started and see how this makeover turns out. So as you can see here, guys, the legs are very loose on these tables. So I purchased these tables from a thrift store, all 3 of them for $8, and I think this was the reason why. The screw inserts were stripped in the tables, so I had to change out the screw inserts in 2 of the tables. The smaller one was okay, all the legs were tightly secure. So I picked up some new screw inserts from Home Depot, some bigger ones. And then I put some wood glue in here and a little bit around the screw and inserted them and just hammered them in with a rubber mallet. So there's what it looks like with the new screw inserts in. And I did let these sit overnight to make sure they were dry. So before getting started with my first coat of base coat paint, I cleaned the tables up and let them dry. So for the first coat, I'm using here a Fusion paint in coal black. So this is going to be my base coat, and then I'm going to put a white chalk paint on top of that. So I'll be distressing the piece, and I want the black paint to come through. And I only had to apply 1 coat of this black paint. Now I could have spray painted this piece, but I live in a condo and I have all of my house plants out on my patio, so I find the spray from the spray paint just goes everywhere, so I chose this route to do it by hand, but it does take a lot longer than if I would have just spray painted it. So I think I'll be probably investing in a tent that I can put on my patio and just put the piece in the spray tent and just spray away in there so I don't get any overspray anywhere else on my patio. right here I'm just taking off any stickers that were on the piece, and now I'm applying some brown stickers on the bottom of the legs so none of the paint gets on that part of the piece. So this is what the screw inserts look like after letting the wood glue dry overnight. But there was an issue with a couple of the screw inserts still, even with the wood glue. So I did use some Gorilla super glue on those 2 inserts, I think it was. So that seemed to work a little better. So in hindsight, I probably would have put the Gorilla super glue in all of the screw inserts that needed it. So right here I'm applying the base coat of the Fusion coal black paint on those other 2 pieces. So after I applied the first coat of paint on all 3 pieces, I applied the Minwax polyacrylic to seal in the black paint because I didn't want that red cherry color coming through when I distressed the piece after applying the white chalk paint. So right here I'm applying my first coat of white chalk paint, and this is the Rust-Oleum Linen White. And I applied 2 coats of this chalk paint to give it good coverage. And I'm not gonna lie guys, this would have been a lot easier with a white spray chalk paint as well. So it is very time consuming to do these 3 pieces. The top part not so much, but the legs are what take the time. So did take me probably a couple of hours to finish painting these 3 pieces. So after I finished applying those 2 coats of chalk paint, it was time to put on the Botanical Decoupage paper, and this is Tim Holtz paper in the Botanical. And I use Mod Podge to apply this. Isn't that beautiful? I love that floral print. So it's not wide enough for the piece, as you can see, but so I had to cut 3 pieces for this larger table. And I think it took 2 for the smallest one and about 2.5 for the medium-sized table. And this is really easy to cut with just a metal ruler that I have here. So right here guys, I'm applying my Mod Podge, and I started out with a sponge brush, but I switched to a different brush afterwards. So I work from the center out. That way it's less chance of making a mistake if you start from the center, just one side at a time. As you can see here, I have a different brush. I found this brush a little nicer for applying the Mod Podge than the sponge brush that I had. And you don't need to apply a really thick coat of Mod Podge, just a thin coat. But make sure you're applying enough where the paper is going to stick down in all areas. Make sure your outer edges are stuck. And right there I'm just using a plastic card. And if you're going to use something like this, don't go really hard because it will rip the paper. So if you're trying this for the first time, kind of use your hands. It is a lot easier to use your hands instead of the card. Here I'm just trying to smooth out some bubbles with that card, but like I said, go lightly on that or else it will rip the paper. I did slightly rip the paper in one little spot, but you can't really notice it because of the print, but probably would be better to use your hands. Here I'm just applying the second piece, and make sure you have the edges lined up with the first piece. So here I'm just applying that third piece on the larger table. So there was some overhang and I just kind of cut that off later on. So here I'm applying a coat of Mod Podge on the top just to seal it in. But for the other two tables, I decided that I would seal it in with the Minwax polyacrylic. So right here, I'm using that polyacrylic on those other two pieces. And this is so much easier to apply because it's very thin. It's almost like a water. So after the first table that I did with the Mod Podge, after that was dry, I did go back and apply a coat of polyacrylic on top of that table as well. Right here I'm just using some sandpaper to get rid of that excess decoupage paper that's in the front and on the sides. And now I'm using a wet rag to distress the piece. Give it that natural kind of wear and tear kind of look. And I just distress it in the areas where there would be naturally wear and tear. And that's what the distressing looks like, guys. Blends in nicely with that decoupage paper. And right here I'm just using some wax to seal the chalk paint in. Well guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this nesting table transformation. Do you guys like this decoupage paper? Don't forget to give this video a like, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell for more videos. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.